Over the last 15 years, I've been running a garage door business. And in that time, I've made pretty much every mistake you could think of in the book. Leading up to now, where we're on pace to hit over $200 million this year. So in this video, I'm gonna break down the last 15 years of experience I have as a business owner in the home service industry and try to condense it into 5 parts that I would focus on if I were you. And I'm gonna break down each part of my experiences, give you actionable steps to master each section. The first thing you need to get right is your leadership mentality. It seems like a lot of people want to complain about how millennials are entitled and no one wants to work anymore. That's bullshit. That's the kind of victim mentality that will make you fail. Being a great leader means taking responsibility for your sinking ship. The problem is not that millennials are prima donnas. It's that for a long period of time, leaders got away with treating their people like shit. In this day and age, people want to know what's in it for them. Millennials want to be part of something bigger. They want to be able to buy houses, take their family on trips, get back to the community. The first thing we do when we come into training, we hire a new person, is really evaluate what their dreams are, what their goals are. If you're just going into this industry to ride off the backs of others, then I hope your dreams don't come true, because you deserve to fail. Not only that, but if you can't get this right, you're going to screw up all your recruiting efforts, which we're going to get into later. Now that we've addressed your leadership mindset, we're going to talk about the leadership systems. So guys, one of my favorite books is The Coaching Effect. And what I can tell you about this book is he explains that leaders and management need to be coached. There's got to be a very, very big level of accountability. They need one-on-ones. They need to be trained more. They need to be worked with. Here's the best way to have a one-on-one. You've got a page on each and every employee. You know what their goals are. You know what their kids' names are. You also have all their key performance indicators at work. What you're trying to do is find out where they can be the best version of themselves. And you could say, I know you wanted to buy a brand new truck. And we've set a personal budget for you. Now, if we just change these few things and work on this and do a couple ride-alongs, I'm not only going to help you hit that goal, but I'm going to get you there a little bit quicker. One of the biggest things I see when you're a small company is you just don't know the numbers. You're not able to give anything to the employees on what they need to improve on. Is their conversion rate bad? Are they not getting enough great reviews? How are you going to fix something if you don't know where somebody stands? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to know your numbers, so make sure your CRM and your whole data sets are accurate. Then next week, I want you to have a one-on-one with each and every individual. You can start with CSRs, then you could go to dispatchers, then you could go to technicians. But here's what I want. I want you to talk about what they're doing great and what you're gonna use them for to help train. Then I want you to tell them what's in it for them if they change this one KPI. If they're able to convert this much service into sales, if they're able to get more reviews, how are they gonna get rewarded? These are simple little steps that are gonna drive your company through the roof of profit, revenue, and happiness. Now let's talk about culture. I know this part can feel like corporate woohoo BS, but it's important to remember your business is built by people. And I can guarantee you with absolute certainty, if your people are unhappy, your business will fail. This is what we know. The Journal of Applied Psychology looked up the impact of positive workplace culture on employee productivity and found people work better when they're happy. This particular study concluded that a supportive culture characterized by open communication, trust, and a sense of belonging can enhance employee engagement and ultimately lead to increased productivity. At A1, I focus on these 3 things: competition, collaboration, and fun. So first, let's talk about competition. I line up their numbers each month, 1 through now 400 technicians. And what I found is there's those type of people that need to be first, and there's those other people who hate to be last. And I always try to hire the people that want to win, that want to become number 1. Performance Pay has done this for me. I've walked into some companies that pay hourly. No one's paying attention. They're rolling their eyes. They just need to make the bare minimum to get by. That's the type of people they are. Performance Pay is competition, and it drives the right behaviors. The number 2 is collaboration. I learned from Al Levy, the triangle of communication. There's a CSR, there's a dispatcher, and there's a technician. They all need to work together. At A1 Garage Door Service, we have Thursday morning meetings where we all pull the guys up. We talk to one another. We talk about who's winning. We don't talk about who's losing. We just talk about the great things. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, we have what's called a morning mojo call where we talk about the mindset and the guys that break through and set a record. And we pump each other up. Number 3, of course, is fun. So I'll give you a list of a few things we did in the last month. We went to Topgolf twice. We went to a baseball game. We jumped out of the sky parachuting. What are you doing that's fun? Because once you have friends at work, your company will be unstoppable. But one thing I want you to take out of this section is, if nothing else, go to Costco and buy some Biscuit. You could afford to have pancakes one morning. you could afford to make eggs and bacon and just break bread with your people. This isn't some hidden gem. Industries all over the country and all over the world do this. Restaurants do this. They have family nights where they invite everybody to get together. You should be doing it too. Next, let's talk about marketing. There's a lot to dive into here, so I'm only going to focus on what I would do if I was starting from scratch. If there's a specific topic you want to learn more about, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll be honest right now, we got very, very spoiled over the last 3 years with the pandemic. Home service lit up. If I was to go back to day one, with the economy we're in now, there's one thing I know, no algorithm, Google, Bing, Facebook can't take away from me, and that's relationships. It's getting out there and meeting the people. It's joining certain things like BNI groups and chambers of commerce. It's remembering to ask each and every client for not only one review, but 4 reviews. You want one on Nextdoor, Yelp, Google, and you want a video testimonial for Facebook. I'd be focusing on making sure that my websites looks great, because I'll tell you this, I probably went through 10 websites and I didn't spend enough money to get it done the first time correctly. It was expensive long-term to not do it right the first time. The biggest thing I could tell you in marketing is to have attribution, meaning you have call tracking numbers and certain things to be able to tell where your leads are coming from. Because if you have no idea what's making money and you start doing radio and Valpak and Google pay-per-click and LSA ads and you do stuff on Bing and you don't know where the money's coming from, you're broke. So you have to have attribution models. Over the last few years, I realized that one A player runs circles around 3 B players. So I started focusing on finding great people. And I started marketing in a way that not only attracted great clients, but it also attracted great potential employees. Depending on the industry you're in, there's 4 algorithms on Google: PPC, local service ads, Google My Business, and then you got organic. I guarantee you're not dominating each one of those. PPC is expensive, but if you're not on local service ads, if you're not optimizing your GMB, and if you're not figuring out a way to make your website rank, you're losing. Those are easy, quick tips to get lots and lots of leads, because Google is the 1,000-pound gorilla that's everywhere. And if you're not focused on that, then I don't think it's easy to win. Recruiting. Now, if you're killing it as a leader and you built a great culture, recruiting A players should be easy. But first, we need to define what an A player even looks like. There are 2 things I look for in new employees. The first one is a desire to help others win. I had this technician that was just light years above everybody in sales, but the dude's attitude was garbage. He complained all the time. He talked down to his fellow teammates. He literally rolled his eyes at meetings. We made a difficult decision. Even though he was paying the bills, his attitude, his demeanor was just so horrible that we had to get rid of him. And now I'm sure he's another person's nightmare. But my point is that sometimes you got to make those hard calls, because the day he left, everybody started smiling. Everybody started trying harder. Everybody was able to hit goals that I didn't even imagine were possible. And sometimes you just got to make the tough call. Number 2 is they need to have passion. In my field, I don't care if they have a degree or formal education. They got to care about what they're doing. If they do, great. Now it's time to use training systems to mold them into the best they could be. Now, as far as the actual recruiting goes, you're going to have to think outside the box. Everywhere you go is an opportunity to recruit. Everything you do, whether you're posting on social media, whether you're at an event, whether you're at a restaurant, you see a great busboy. You find somebody with the right abundant mindset. They're smiling. They're having a great conversation. You just feel them. You gravitate towards them. It's just so easy to have a conversation with them. That's the person you want to do a snap selfie with, and you want to just say, listen, I'd love to take you on a ride along. Now, here's the secret sauce about this. You need to make them feel wanted. You need to make them feel special. Grab a quick video of your guy and say, hey man, tell my boy Sam here how happy you are, that you want to take him on a ride along. And hopefully you got a great enough business with a great enough culture, with great enough performance pay that they'll want to work for you right then and there on the spot. So here's what I want you to do. Go around this week and just go through whether you're getting a haircut, filling up your gas tank, and talking to a gas attendant. I want you to look around for who's hustling, who's smiling, who's engaging, who do you love having a conversation with? And start thinking, if you had them on your team, what would that do for you? And then start to imagine this. What would it take? What would my business need to look like to get a person of that quality? Because if you could start stacking the deck and having those people that want to come to you, imagine how much money you would make. Last but not least, you gotta have systems. I'll never forget my first lesson on systems and expected outcomes. I hired a mentor. His name was Al Levy. I had him on my podcast, and he walked in to do a shop tour before we started working together. There was fingerprints all over the front window. There was no hours of operation. There was calendars on the wall. When we used to have Google Calendar and Outlook, there was no reason for calendars. He tripped on a cord going into the warehouse, and he made this statement. He said, I could have stole everything in your entire warehouse with your own forklift, and you wouldn't even have known about it. There was no cameras. Nothing was locked up. And then he said, show me your manual. It had dust on it. It was nothing. There was no standard operating procedure. There was nothing to make sure We were doing it the same way every time. He set the foundation, which turned into 10 manuals. Now there's over 50 manuals. I'll tell you what I found with systems. There's either no system, it's the wrong system, or the system's not being followed that you set for. A lot of times you got a system. Most of the small businesses I've seen never even thought about creating a system. I want you to write down how you like your inventory. I want you to write down the first step you take when you walk into a customer's house. What do you say? Is your shirt tucked in? Do you smell good? Did you park your truck in a spot that they could see that? If somebody comes up to your business that works for you for a long time and they got a face tattoo and you didn't like it and you want to fire them, where do you have to stand on because you didn't have it in a manual anywhere? As you're starting to have problems within your business, I want you to write those down in a Google Doc. And I want you to say this should be somewhere in a manual. And I want you to be very specific on where that's going to go over time. I go over this all the time in my book, Elevate. If you want to check it out, great, but I'm not trying to peddle this book. I know we talked about a lot of things today, and I know it could be a little bit overwhelming at times. Take just one of these things, just one thing, and start today. Most people, they find it impossible to implement. I have 300 plus episodes on my podcast of The Home Service Expert. You can listen to it for free. And I had a buddy of mine, he was doing 2 million at the time. Now he's doing 20 million. He goes, Tommy, if I listen to your podcast one episode, it taught me about a new relationship and a new thing I should be doing. Then I listened to the next one. And you basically paved the way for my success exactly when I needed to hear. I wouldn't be surprised if he's at 100 million in the next 52 episodes because he's gonna listen to the next 52 weeks. But it's literally the diary of everything I've done right. It's the relationships I met, it's what I was focusing in on at the time. You could see when I went from a $10 million company to $200 million company just by listening to the podcast.